Hey guys, I'm Rich from NeoWin, and today we're unboxing the Razer Book 13. You can see I have a MacBook Pro 13 right here. That is because I just finished recording the MacBook Pro unboxing video, and now we're on to the Razer Book 13. And the reason that I left this out here, I didn't even change my shirt. By the way, I know it's probably weird, but if I record two videos in the same day, I usually change my shirt so it doesn't look like I recorded in the same day. Don't tell anybody. Anyway, this is part of a larger project. Intel sent me both of these machines. I have the box somewhere over here. There it is. Intel sent me both of these machines, right? And the idea is to test mostly compatibility, performance, stuff like that. App compat, hardware compat, all that good stuff. Because obviously this is using the Apple's ARM processor called the M1. This is using Intel 11th Gen with Iris Xe graphics, Thunderbolt 4, all that good stuff, you know. So like I said in the previous video, Intel did send me these, but that will not sway my coverage. I can write whatever I want about these products. I could write whatever topics I want. You know, if I decide that I don't want to talk about compatibility, you know, I don't have to, but it's valid, right? All this stuff, they sent me some good stuff. We've got a 2080 Ti here, Nvidia RTX 2080 Ti. We've got a 2 terabyte SSD with a fingerprint sensor, and you know, USB-C to 8K DisplayPort, Thunderbolt 3 dock. So they sent me some good stuff, and we're gonna start opening this stuff up on this video. But they sent me some good stuff to just kind of to show what works and what doesn't work, right? So there are issues with apps, right? Because obviously it's a new architecture. Apple has its Rosetta translation, which I hear is very good. I haven't dived into it yet. But then you have things like an external GPU, and there's obviously no native drivers for it. I don't know if it's a native driver issue or a chipset issue, but you can't use an external GPU with this MacBook. Now, Apple did promise Thunderbolt ports on this, but it can't do exactly what Thunderbolt can do on a Windows PC because you have those native drivers on Windows. Because remember, the whole PC market is built for Intel right now, so that's kind of that is the message that Intel's trying to push. They're not wrong, so that's it. Right? It's if you want to play games, you can do it on an Intel PC. If you go and buy a random peripheral, you don't have to check if it works with an Intel PC. Stuff like that. So the Razer Book 13, this has an i7, 16 gigs of RAM, and a 256 gig SSD. Note it does have double the RAM as the MacBook Pro that they sent over, so that's worth noting. It has a full HD display. Core i7, 1165 G7, Iris Xe graphics. And I gotta say, I've reviewed several 11th Gen PCs so far. That includes HP Spectre X360 the Dell XPS 13, the Dell XPS 13 2-in-1. An Acer. I had an Acer. I've had a few now. It's not 11th Gen is not new to me anymore. It's so there are a couple benefits of 11th generation. One, Iris Xe graphics. Big jump from last year's Iris Plus that was in 10th Gen. And by the way, Iris Plus was pretty good too. Intel is finally taking integrated graphics seriously, and that's huge. Okay, I love this packaging, man. But anyway, Iris Xe graphics, also faster memory, also faster PCIe 4.0, Thunderbolt 4. Now, Thunderbolt 4, it sounds like a big leap over Thunderbolt 3. It's really not. What Thunderbolt 4 really is, and it's good. It's basically a full spec Thunderbolt 3 as the minimum spec. Thunderbolt 3 was really cool. Over 4 lanes, you could get 40 gigabits per second data transfer speeds. You could plug in 2 4K monitors or a 5K monitor. I think they upped that to 8K at some point, but whatever. Into a single port. You could plug an external GPU into a single port. All that good stuff. Super powerful stuff. But Thunderbolt 3 had this weird minimum spec where a company could use only 2 lanes and then get 20 gigabits per second speeds and only be able to plug in one 4K monitor into a single port. And so the issue that I had, because I reviewed a lot of Thunderbolt 3 PCs, is that some of them had the full spec, some of them had the minimum spec. And there was no real way to tell what you were getting other than reading a product review that was written by someone that tested to see if it could handle 2 4K monitors. So that's a real problem. You had no way of knowing what you were getting. Now with Thunderbolt 4, that full spec is now the minimum spec. So if you buy a PC that has Thunderbolt 4, you know that you can plug in 2 4K monitors into a single port. You know that you're going to get 40 gigabits per second data transfer speeds with that port. So Thunderbolt 4 is good, if only because now you really know what you're getting. And the other thing about 11th Gen that's really gotten to me, like I said, it's not new to me anymore. It's the Iris Xe graphics. You could do some full HD gaming on there. You could do some solid video editing on there. And you could do a lot of things that you previously needed dedicated graphics for, but an integrated graphics. So you'll have these things, you'll have these PCs like a Dell XPS 13 or XPS 13 2-in-1, where it has such a tiny footprint. It looks like such a small PC, but it packs so much more power than I ever would have imagined. Like, who would imagine that it's something this big that you'd be, able to play, again, full HD, not UHD, but full HD games on it. It's really impressive. So Razer is obviously, this is the Razer Book 13. Let's see, anything else? No, just some paperwork, whatever. Yeah, so this is a clamshell device. If you want to test the Apple ecosystem against the Windows ecosystem, you can obviously start looking at form factors as well, such as the convertible form factor of the HP Spectre X360 or the Dell XPS 13 2-in-1. But this is a very similar machine to that MacBook Pro. And another thing that's worth noting is that, like I said, Iris Xe graphics are really good. But you can also turn an 11th gen laptop into a full desktop PC, right? Because using that Thunderbolt 4, right? We got one over here, one over here. So we've got 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports over here. And so I could use one of those to connect to 2 4K monitors. I could use the other one to connect to the external GPU. Now that's just a GPU. It's not. You need an enclosure to use some of these goodies. But that's this. This is the Razer Core X. So like I said, they did send me quite a few goodies. Let's see if I can just get this open here. It's very heavy, actually. I'm almost surprised at how heavy it is. I've never used an external GPU before. What's with all the folding cardboard here, guys? It's a little box on top. We're gonna try to get most of this set up, and here we go. Okay. All right. The giant flaps made it a little hard to get out. I'm making a huge mess in my office here, but trying to keep this stuff together. So yeah, this is the GPU enclosure. So I should be able to. All right. Here we go. Now, but here's the thing, right? So you don't need a desktop PC, because if you take this, you plug it into your laptop with Thunderbolt, and so you plug your 2 monitors into the other Thunderbolt port, and boom, you've got a full desktop. You've got a gaming rig, So yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out how to set this up. Okay, so this should actually it just slides out like so. And there's some bits that we have to remove in here. But yeah, that's how we're gonna set up the external GPU, and then nice, that is awesome. So yeah, there is a. Well, did I? This is pretty cool. Hey, that's pretty cool. All right. So I guess you just set up the insert the graphics, power connectors. Very, very cool. We're going to look at this a little later. And then, of course, we have our RTX 2080 Ti. And if we just open this up, we can see there's our graphics card right there. I'm going to leave this in for now because we're going to look at this a little later. But yeah, but notice like how easy it is to just put RTX graphics inside of a just a regular laptop with integrated graphics. Lots of power cables here. By the way, it can charge through the Thunderbolt port. Also, if you have monitors connected to it with a dock, whatever. Nice looking power cable that Razer sends. We're back to the Razer Book now, by the way. I'm guessing 65 watts. It is. So yeah. And then USB-C to, I don't know if I'll really need this, but we'll see. Okay, so there's a lot of cool stuff. So you notice, by the way, very pretty backlighting, a blue backlight on the keyboard, which I believe can be adjusted, but I don't even know. But you can also see like there's a smaller footprint on here compared to the MacBook Pro. That like just the hardware is really impressive, especially considering that it's just a similar device. I've actually never reviewed a Razer PC before. Razer just doesn't send me anything. But yeah, I love their build quality. It's a very clean design. This one has an i7. They do make an i5 model, which is a little strange because Razer doesn't get involved with the Core i5 very much. Usually they just stick to the Core i7. I don't even think they've ever used the Core i9. But it's really just because like Razer is a company that sort of sticks with what works. You look at the they're by gamers, for gamers, whatever that it's called. They stick to who their market is. They know where they want to go with products, what they want to use, and what they want to improve for their base, right? So you can see the hinge only goes back this far. Again, this is a very similar product to the MacBook Pro. And in a lot of ways, it's got the speakers on either side of the keyboard. The trackpad takes up all of the available real estate down here, although it's a mechanical trackpad unlike the haptic one on the MacBook. While this is getting ready forever over here, but we can see it does have a USB Type A port, Type C, 3.5 millimeter audio, and of course on this side we've got, I've got this charging over here, but Type C, another Thunderbolt for HDMI and micro SD. So a lot more when it comes to ports when compared to the MacBook Pro. It has a lot more. Obviously, the MacBook Pro does not have any USB Type A, no HDMI, stuff like that. It's just got the pair of USB Type C ports. All right, so now that the screen is fully lit up, you can see how small the bezels are. And if you compare this to the MacBook Pro, I'm personally, if you follow me, I'm traditionally a Windows guy, and I appreciate the design that we're seeing in the Windows ecosystem a lot more than what we see from Apple. Apple's design, they change it every 4 or 5 years or whatever, and it gets a little bland. It's just that basic aluminum look. For a while, the PC industry went to copy that look. We've all heard the term MacBook clone, but that's not how it is anymore. It's really like especially if you look at like an HP Spectre X360, Windows has moved beyond Apple in terms of design. Also up here, by the way, there is an IR camera for facial recognition. Windows Hello. That is something that you will not see on a Mac in favor of Touch ID. So depends what you prefer, really. So this is Razer stuff. I got to check that out later because I'm not too familiar with Razer stuff. Razer Updater is updating. So yeah, no bloatware that I'm seeing on here. Just the Razer stuff that you would expect from really any PC. Like I said, full HD. So it's a weird stock background. Like this comes with Windows, but I don't think I've ever seen it as the default There we go. There's actually a Razer background. I can minimize that and see this. That's a beautiful background. I don't see any visible pixelation. This is full HD plus. It's a 16 by 10 screen. This is Razer's first attempt at making a PC that's aimed at productivity rather than gaming. So very, very cool stuff. The keyboard feels nice. It's got the different colors, which I noted before. It does light up. It does light up in different colors. It's not always blue. Like right now, it's kind of white, but it turns a light purple as well. But I haven't seen it light up in any bold colors like that, although, I assume that you can adjust it. But there are subtle colors that make it look pretty rather than flamboyant, where flamboyant is a look that we see from a lot of gaming laptops. Okay, but like I said, 16 by 10 screen is 13.4 inches. 16 by 10 is a trend that we're seeing across the ecosystem because it's taller. And taller screens, a lot of people are liking taller screens. Like 13.4 inches does not sound like it's a lot bigger than your average 13.3 inch screen. It's not just 0.1 inches larger, though, because screens are measured diagonally. So that means that, yes, it is like the closer to square you get, the more surface area you get out of a certain measurement. So now that it's a little bit taller, you're actually getting a lot more surface area than you would on a 13.3 inch 16 by 9. All right, so let's see what we got in here. We took a look at the Razer Book 13, which is a lovely Windows 10 PC. I wish Razer would send me more stuff because they have such nice PCs, you know. But yeah, it's cool. So this is the SSD. It's a portable external SSD with a fingerprint sensor. There's a box inside of a box. I hate that. I really. And there's a box inside of the box. Inside of the box. And then, of course, we have, if we can get to it, jeez. This is a complicated box. Here's the SSD. Right, so you can see it has that fingerprint sensor right on it, so we'll be able to play around with that. And that should work, obviously, with any Windows PC. I assume it works with an Intel-based Mac as well, but there are some features that just don't work with Macs in general. And it might be because it's a fingerprint sensor, while Apple has their own fingerprint sensor. I don't know. But there are some features that just don't work with Macs. Like for example, the Logitech Brio webcam. It's a 4K webcam. It's got an IR camera on it for facial recognition. That IR camera is never going to work with a Mac. It just doesn't work because there's no authentication system like that for Mac. So this will be cool to check out. This I still don't know what I'm really going to do with the adapter here, but we'll see. Another thing Intel was going to send me was an Xbox controller. I told them not to because I have many, many, many Xbox controllers. So that's another thing that just doesn't work with the MacBook and will work with this beautiful PC here. Like I said, one of the things that's always stuck out to me since October-ish, whenever I started reviewing Tiger Lake, which is 11th gen processors and PCs, was just how much power you get from such a small form factor. And then you have this Thunderbolt ecosystem here, and I've written about it in many reviews. That just that you can go and if you have two Thunderbolt 4 ports, you can plug two monitors into one of them, and you could plug an external GPU into the other one, and you have a desktop. Or by the way, you could plug it into the external GPU, right? Or I guess you should. I don't know. I've never used an external GPU. Get off my back. But so this is going to be a fun part of the project. So stay tuned, guys. I'm going to have a lot more. We're gonna do, after this, I might do a video just kind of setting up this stuff. But after that, it's going to be mostly written content. If you haven't checked out the MacBook Pro unboxing, that's out there too. But after that's going to be mostly written content. We're going to talk about app compatibility, and that's just going to be me using a lot of apps on the MacBook, seeing what works, what doesn't, what's good, what's bad. We're going to do an article about hardware compatibility. That's going to be this stuff here. Other stuff that I happen to use regularly, like the Logitech Brio webcam, Xbox controller, stuff like that. Probably do an article on performance, looking at different aspects of performance, right? So we've seen certain reports of certain apps, video rendering, stuff like that. We'll also look at, gaming performance, office productivity performance, stuff like that. And then, of course, we'll have reviews on both the Razer Book and the MacBook Pro. So plenty of stuff coming. It's probably going to be a series over the next couple months. So stay tuned and keep coming back. I'm Richard Neowin. Have a great night.